Hi, and welcome to Marketing Eye Podcast. This is me, your host, Anna D'Souza. And today at our podcast, we have Kate Hanley, who's one of the marketing managers in Marketing Eye, and Lennia Pedroso, who is one of our marketing execs. Welcome, guys.
Hi, Anna. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Anna.
Awesome. Today we're going to be talking about influencer marketing and the rise of influencer marketing. If you just think about it, 10 years ago, influencer marketing wasn't a thing. Social media wasn't a big thing. What are your thoughts? How has this completely changed the game in marketing?
So, I think it's really interesting using influencers or people to market products. I mean, we've always looked at marketing out campaigns as people doing things or advertising a product, but I guess we've never really looked at the people behind the product. Mm-hmm. So I think with social media and influencer marketing particularly, like we've turned to celebrities or people that we really recognize and that we really know. We almost treat them like household names sometimes, like the Kardashians, George Clooney, we look at them like we know them. And so I think using them to promote products, it implies a lot more brand recognition. And also I know that ROIs on the majority of those campaigns are far higher than a general campaign.
Influencer marketing can be an expensive thing because if you are going to hire, say, Kim Kardashian or George Clooney with Nespresso, you are going to spend a lot in marketing. You have to have a large marketing budget for that. What about the smaller businesses who have the smaller budgets? How do you think they can adapt to that?
So I guess for them to adapt to something like that, you could look at, I guess this is where the smaller social media influencers come in. And then I guess that's probably where the whole social media influence has started out and grown from. So nobody's really became overnight celebrities. So I think smaller brands now can look to, I know that there's websites out there where you can actually source an influencer to advertise your product and you pay them a much smaller fee. They're not as well known, but you dictate your fee on, I guess, their reach and their social media influence.
For Carrier Book, we actually the brand itself started off very small. As a startup app, I guess they started from the bottom, trying to build their way up, getting new followers and getting people to download the app as well. Working closely with the founder, we actually decided to conduct influencer marketing to get the word out there, to get the brand out there, and to get everyone engaged into the app. For a startup business, I guess my advice would be not to straight away reach out to such high-end influencers. I mean, like you said, it would be very expensive and you wouldn't be reaching out to, these $1 million celebrities just yet. Yeah. But start from people who you think would be interested in your interested in your product, and work your way up from there.
Did you think that it worked well for Carrier Book?
Definitely. Because it was such, I guess, a niche market, I started reaching out to book bloggers, people who liked reading, and built a community from there. After I got a bit of a following and a foundation, we started venturing out to people who had, a higher number of followers. Still not as expensive as reaching out to a celebrity, but getting, people to endorse your product was a good way.
Such good insight, Lennia. Just wanted to know, what are your thoughts on leveraging the power and the position of an owner, for example, as the brand ambassador or the influencer to lead the product or the brand?
Having someone leverage the brand is beneficial, especially if you've got a figure who is relatable, a figure who is passionate and, just someone who you can be friends with, I guess.
I think that's the biggest thing, Lennia. I think you're spot on the money with being relatable. Mm-hmm. You want someone that you could actually see yourself having a cup of coffee with, having that conversation with. You don't want, from a brand owner perspective, you wouldn't want to have an influencer that you don't relate to yourself or that you don't think your audience or your product market will be genuine with.
That's correct. And I guess being a brand ambassador myself, I'm very passionate about the products that I'm endorsing. I take pride in being able to be the face or, being the face of the brand. You need someone who really takes pride in the product for them to be able to execute and advertise it truthfully, honestly, and
Genuinely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the other thing you touched on just before, you touched on a word that I love, community. And I think that's a really big thing with influencer marketing and building your brand. You really want to create a community.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think communities I think it's a really underrated thing. And I think when you're trying to get a product or a brand out there, I think creating a community where like-minded people are the users, then I think you're doing a really good job.
When you talk about community and talk about the influencer being relatable, for me, what comes to mind was Deepika Mutiala, I might be saying it wrong. She is the founder and owner of a makeup brand called Live Tinted in the US, basically catering to people of color, people who look like me, for example, which if you look at the cosmetic industry, you don't find many people or the industry particularly catering to a brown-skinned person. You find makeup products particularly catering to people who are of a fair skin tone. And it's very hard for a person of color to actually, feel part of a community. And what Deepika has done is that she started off as just a general YouTuber doing makeup videos, and she grew a brand, created a community, and then launched her product, which actually understood the problems that her community, her fans, her followers were feeling, and provided them with a product that met their needs, basically. Who are the people that you think of when you think about influencer marketing done right? And that's the perfect influencer.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, wow, Anna, throwing out the big guns on a Friday afternoon, aren't you? I think there's also, I guess, just going to what you were saying, done right and done well. So you can think you're doing something right. Like I know there's a lot of, L'Oreal, for example, going back to the makeup beauty sort of scenario, but they think they're doing things right, but then, you said you can't find makeup that's in your skin tone color. Well, how are you doing that well then? You're not.
Yeah.
So I think there's a big difference in those two things as well. So just touching on doing marketing well, or influence marketing particularly, Nespresso and George Clooney, we know that ad, everyone knows that ad, and he's done a few different versions of it, but we all still know it, and we all still know what he's advertising. I don't think that will ever leave our minds. So I think that's a partnership that they've created that's not only advertised the product in the right way, but also done it in a really strong way so that we know in future if the ad comes on, even if it's not the same one, straight away we click and we're like, oh yeah, George Clooney and Espresso.
When you're doing an influencer campaign, I think it's really important to match the influencer with the brand for it to be effective and to be a good campaign in general. Like Maddie Zingler, I think you all know her from, being part of Sia's music videos and the good old dance mums.
Anna's shaking her head in the corner over there.
I do not.
As an ex-dancer myself, I've followed her on all social media platforms since I was young and her age as well. But seeing that a dancer is wearing, active wear such as Fabletics and just wearing some Nike gear and Adidas as well, and dancing in those products, it seems that, these products work, these products are good for this activity. And being a dancer, I see that as something that I want as well. To be able to be a good dancer, I need these products. So, matching the appropriate influencer or the appropriate face with the brand can really make your campaign successful.
That was going to be my next question, I think, was does it make you want to buy the product?
Oh,
because
definitely.
You see someone in it. I think that's the biggest thing is, you need to engage with what they're selling.
Yeah.
Great answers, guys. It took a while, but we got there. And now that we know good examples of influencer marketing, what are your thoughts about something that's brands that have done it completely wrong?
Oh, I've got one.
We've got plenty.
Yeah, okay, true. I could go on for a while on this one. So I think just on a really bad campaign, Snoop Dogg, on that, I don't even know what delivery service it is. Like, that's how bad it is.
Deliveroo.
Okay, right.
I think
is
so.
it?
Yeah, or a
I was going to say Uber Eats. So
one of those, one of the other. But I don't remember what it is, so therefore, was it even effective?
Exactly. But I also think every time it comes on the television, it's so cringy. Like, it makes me just want to cry. And I can't imagine, would only assume, that he would be quite expensive to get on for one of these campaigns. And the fact that, you know, we can't remember what brand he represents, it's obviously not doing the job that it should be. And it makes me want to turn it off.
Yeah. I don't know what they're talking about, but okay, great.
Really?
No, I actually haven't seen that ad, so maybe it didn't make an impact on the audience it was supposed to, I guess.
And I feel like, just going back to that, just on the audience, I feel like we would be probably their prime audience.
Yeah.
Definitely, like, young marketers who are working long hours, you know, aren't probably all that enticed to cook, particularly if it's just us or just one other person. You know, we don't have families, so we're not tied to them to cook the meals. So we are probably exactly in their target market, and none of us know what the campaign was for. So
that's very, very true. For me, what comes into mind is Kendall Jenner with the Pepsi ad. And obviously, it was not completely Kendall's fault. It was the writing of that. But her being an influencer, she held a lot of power in the sense that she was promoting something that was already a political issue in the US. And it was already a painful issue in the US, sensitive in many ways. With her position, she should have put a foot down and said, hey, this is not exactly what I represent. Therefore, I do not want to be associated with that because this is an issue and this is not something that my followers and fans would like because this is not right. And it kind of reflected badly on both the brand and the influencer. So I think that's an example that it comes to mind. It's very relevant in this day and age with a lot of divide in many countries, not just in the US. So yeah, what about you, Lennia?
Kendall Jenner's got some history of some bad campaigns. I'm a big fan of Kendall, but I guess the biggest one and the worst one last year was Fire Festival, guys.
Oh my god!
Absolute fail.
I have to say the documentary was fantastic though.
But that kind of goes to show, you know, although influencers do endorse or advertise a specific product, event, or, you know, situation, things like that, you don't really know if they are passionate about it, if they really truly believe in what's happening, because, you know, Fire Festival, although the production and founders had enough funds to build the whole campaign, what was the end product? I mean,
I think it was like 2 pieces of white bread and cheese slice and...
Oh, and I guess
like
the plastic tents.
Yeah.
But, you know, in saying that, influencers do make a really big impact in the way that people respond to engaging with the product or the service, especially high-end influencers compared to not really well-known person.
Great conversation, guys. I really enjoyed that. So in conclusion, what are your, if you were to give a suggestion or a recommendation on marketers and businesses who want to go down the influencer marketing path, what is one thing that you would advise them?
Know your brand and your target audience. That's such an important key factor to be able to get the perfect influencer to share your brand.
I think just on that as well, do your research.
Yeah.
Like, make sure you know who you're engaging with. Like, surely Pepsi would have had, you know, millions of lawyers when they did the Kendall Jenner debacle, and yet, you know, neither of them stopped and said, like, hey guys, we're probably not doing this justice, or we're not doing the right thing here. So I think the biggest thing is do your research. Like, make sure you're bringing on someone that is passionate about what you do and will represent you in a really good light, because
Definitely.
you know, we struggle to think of some really great campaigns today, And yet, when we were asked to think of the bad campaigns, we could all think of 5 straight away in our heads.
Yeah.
So I think the disasters outweigh the good on majority of times.
I think the final thing would be for me, again, you don't always have to go down the influencer marketing route because some companies do not need it. So you need to understand what's appropriate for you. So that would be my 2 cents. And that would bring us to the end of our podcast. Thank you, Kate and Lennia, for being here. We really enjoyed that. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Thanks. Bye.